Today I will explain you how to eat in order to achieve your optimal health and optimal body. My name is Olga Onoschenko. I'm a certified psychotherapist, nutritionist, and a personal trainer. 5 most important principles of healthy eating. Some of them will surprise you. But before we move on, please subscribe to this channel, because the information I share here will help you to achieve your optimal weight. And I would like to explain you the context of healthy eating. Healthy nutrition is highly individual. We are all different, and we metabolize fats, carbohydrates, and proteins differently. Some of us are intolerant to lactose. Some of us are hypersensitive to caffeine. Some of us lack ferments that help to process alcohol. We are different behaviorally. Our neurobiology is different. Some of us have hypersensitive reward systems in our brain. Some of us are constantly thinking about food, not because we have character flaws, just because our brains are built like that. Very often, this all is genetically determined. Our social and cultural context plays a big role. Age, gender, and even what our mother ate when she was pregnant with us. Finding your perfect way to eat is highly individual and actually also impossible, because nobody knows. Even the best science doesn't know what exactly you should eat. And the only thing that we know for sure is that we need to avoid excess weight. So when we are going to talk about 5 principles of healthy eating, they will be built around avoiding gaining too much extra fat. Why? Because there is such notion as energy toxicity and personal fat threshold. What is energy toxicity? When we constantly overeat and we have excess of energy, when we don't burn energy we eat, we lay fat. This extra fat in our cells at some point may result in inflammation, metabolic diseases, including insulin resistance, poor cholesterol profile, poor lipid profile, poor liver health, and heart health. Different people can afford different amount of extra weight. Some people may gain a lot of extra weight and get into size XL, XXL, and still be metabolically healthy. And some people do not need much extra weight. Normally these are people that accumulate fat right around internal organs, not subcutaneously under skin, but all the extra fat would go predominantly into and around internal organs. Such people have higher risks of developing insulin resistance, for example, even without much extra weight, even staying in size medium. So 5 super important principles in order not to gain excess weight. And first one will surprise you. Do not try to achieve perfect nutrition. Perfectionism is a disease which increases your stress, which makes you focus on things that are not as important. Micromanaging your perfect balance of fats, carbs, and protein is ineffective. What's more important? Managing stress, managing your workload, creating healthy boundaries, good sleep, and exercise. This is much more important than perfect diet. Of course, your diet should be good enough, and we'll talk about it in later points. But do not overrate the importance of nutrition. Moreover, many people lose motivation once they fall off the wagon. Once they have an extra cookie or extra chocolate, they go into this all or nothing mindset. And if this week I didn't have perfect diet, I'd better blow it up and eat everything and anything I see and overeat and have a very poor diet and do not exercise, and then from next week my perfect diet starts. My perfect exercise routine starts. New week, new me. Because perfectionism is not only trying to achieve perfection in everything I do. Perfectionism also can be very unhealthy. It may mean setting up unachievably high standards and beating yourself up for not sticking to these standards. For example, I expect from myself to never eat sugar again. And once I break the rule, I start beating myself up. Not eating sugar for a week seems realistic, right? But in reality, stress may hit and I will need some sugar. And a little bit of sugar will be okay and maybe even healthy for my nervous system. But if I set a high standard of never eating sugar again and then lose mindfulness and have a bounty bar on autopilot and then start beating myself up and thinking, oh, I ruined my diet, I'm bad, I don't have willpower, I don't have self-control. This causes stress, this causes more desire to overeat. It's harder to control ourselves, it's harder to self-regulate. Perfectionism is an enemy, huge enemy to a healthy eating behavior. And please leave 20-30% of imperfection in your diet, because we'll have business trips, we'll have celebrations, stressful days, some sleepless nights, and even just losing mindfulness, losing a little bit of control and accidentally having extra cookie. And that's fine. In the big context of a diet, that's fine. Your task is to have 70-80% of good, nutritious, balanced diet, but 20-30% of it can be rubbish, and this is okay. Principle number 2, cut back on ultra-processed foods. You probably all heard about ultra-processed foods, hyper-palatable foods, industrially made mostly of refined ingredients and additives. Think flavor enhancers, colorings. These foods are designed to be hyper-palatable. It's easy to overeat them, not just because they're super tasty and it's hard to stop, hedonic overeating, which is totally normal, but also it's very easy to consume these goods. It's not like chewing a carrot. It takes some time to chew a carrot, to consume a carrot. But having bounty bar is much easier, or milkshake. It's much easier to drink milkshake than to have an apple. It's easier, it's faster. Structure, texture of food is very important as well. It also influences overeating. And a lot of scientists, including the prominent scientist Kevin Hall, have proven that when our diet consists of ultra-processed foods and lacks nutritious whole food, we will overeat. Even if we feel like we're not overeating in terms of volume, in terms of how our stomach stretches, and we think our diet is okay, we will consume 500 calories more if our diet is ultra-processed than if it is not processed, if it's done of whole foods, even if it's high-calorie foods such as hummus, for example. So watch what you eat, try to choose whole foods, not processed, not packaged. If you eat oats, this should be rough oats, as coarse as possible. They need boiling. Do not eat quick oats that can be just cooked with hot water. Actually, sometimes it's okay, just one of the examples. Or instead of milkshake, have kefir, have cottage cheese. Instead of crisps, have boiled potatoes. And if we minimize ultra-processed foods, which whole foods should we focus on? And this is principle number 3. Plant-based diet plus protein is your basics. What is plant-based? It doesn't mean vegan or vegetarian. It means that we need to eat a lot of plants. What are plants? It's not just green grass or broccoli. Yes, it's greens, but also whole grains, such as buckwheat, quinoa, Even whole grain couscous or pasta also fall into this category. Pulses, beans, lentils, chickpeas, nuts, seeds, fruit, berries, olives, olive oil. This is all very important. This should be your foundation. On top of that, you need to satisfy your needs in protein. How much protein do we need? 1.2 grams per kilogram of weight. This is a rough generic rule for everyone. If you have extra weight, of course, take your desirable weight. Multiply this by 1.2 grams of protein. For example, I weigh 60 kilograms, a little bit more, but let's take 60. Multiplied by 1.2, 72 gram protein is my bare minimum. Of course, this can all be calculated more precisely, depending on your body composition, how much fat you have, how much muscle you have. On your current situation, do you want to get into calorie deficit or do you want to maintain weight? How much you train, how you train. Do you lift weights? Do you do cardio? Or both? Your individual preferences, your individual situation. So protein can be calculated individually for you. But as I already have said, whether you eat 10 grams of protein more or less is not as important as other factors, such as exercise. But why am I talking about plants and about protein? Plants are important to get enough fiber, also vitamins and minerals, but fiber is the key. It helps satiety. So if, for example, if I have 500 calories with fiber, they will make me satiated for longer, fuller for longer. If I have the same 500 calories without fiber, I will get hungrier faster. So I will have to eat more calories later. That's simple. And second, fiber will also contain prebiotics, and prebiotics is fiber that feeds our gut microbiome, while probiotics, that healthy gut bacteria that is everywhere, we take probiotic supplements, we try to drink kefir, kombucha, they are important as well. But science so far only knows 100% that prebiotics are truly important. We need to feed our microflora. It's crucially important to have 14 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories of your food intake. For example, if I have 2,000 calories per day of food, I need 28 grams of fiber. Of course, some fiber are prebiotic, do have prebiotic qualities. Some types of fiber do not have. That's why we need a big variety of fiber to make sure some of these fibers will be prebiotic. And as for protein, does it need any more introduction? I think you all have heard enough about protein already. Too much protein is also not very good, by the way. Principle 4, calorie deficit or calorie balance is the key. I have already said that, but I want to stop specifically on this point as the fourth principle, because when I say that to maintain healthy weight you need to be in calorie balance, or in order to lose weight and achieve healthy weight you need to get into calorie deficit, I do not mean that you need to count calories. When I work with clients, we look at both sides of their energy equilibrium, intake side and physical activity side. Does the client have adequate physical activity? Not too little, not too much. Enough muscle mass, because muscles are metabolic organ. They dictate how much you should eat and how much carbs you can afford. Well, of course, physical activity also decides, but your body composition is very important. So we look at this side and think how to optimize this. And then we look at the side of the diet itself, how much calories we consume. And after a couple of days or weeks of nutrition diary, I may give recommendations based on your current diet, what you should reduce, what you should add to your diet in order to achieve optimal nutrition and either calorie balance or calorie deficit without stress, without unnecessary hunger, how can we minimize your hunger, how we can maximize your energy, how we can avoid deficit, how we can avoid unnecessary limitations, unnecessary restrictions. If you go into MyFitnessPal and will try just to hit a certain amount of calories in order to achieve calorie deficit, you may make a lot of mistakes, and we'll talk about these mistakes in the next video. But the main point here is that the goal is not mathematics of calories. It's about building healthy habits that will help you to achieve either energy balance or energy deficit, and either maintain healthy weight or lose weight and achieve healthy weight. And very often when I work with clients and I see that they eat more than they spend, more calories than they spend, we arrive at conclusion that client suffers from emotional eating, stress eating. They eat when they do not need food. They eat when they're stressed. They eat when they do not want to face uncomfortable emotions or thoughts. And this is where food restriction can make more harm than good. Because very often food is your coping mechanism. When you're stressed, you calm yourself down with food. If you do not have any other coping mechanism, if you do not know how to self-soothe without food, how will you feel in the moment of stress? So it's important to develop alternative coping strategies and also to look at what triggers overeating, what triggers unnecessary interest in food. It can be a general context of life. It can be the job you hate. It can be unfulfilling relationships. It can be poor relationships with yourself, constant self-criticism, constant dissatisfaction with yourself. This is very, very common trigger of emotional eating. That's why psychotherapy may be more important than making your nutrition perfect. So many people know exactly what to eat, but just cannot stick to diet. Not because they do not have willpower, but because they do not have tools to self-regulate, or because their life is so stressful or unfulfilling that food becomes coping strategy. That's why I would like to invite you to sort out your relationships with food and yourself in psychotherapy. And if you would like to work with me, there is a link under this video. You can fill in the form to apply to working with me. It can be either psychotherapeutic consultations, or it can be sort of coaching or weight loss coaching. I would like to really stress the importance of psychological work, because very often when people stress eat and gain weight, they start restricting, they start going on diets. And this may make things even worse. Instead of targeting the root cause of unnecessary appetite, we're causing ourselves more stress, taking away important self-soothing mechanism from ourselves, stressing ourselves more. And when we're stressed, we are less likely to self-regulate. We want food more, and we have less self-control. So instead of finding new diet, getting more knowledge about nutrition, or exercising even more, let's better understand the emotional cycle behind your love for food. That's it. Subscribe to this channel. There will be more videos that will help you lose weight. Any questions, write in comments. Join me on Instagram, where I show how I eat and exercise from position of self-care. Link is below as well. And I'll see you soon.